Well, the war in Gaza and Russia's war in Ukraine have led to a raft of major security decisions by German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Moves by countries like China and Iran have required additional attention, and messaging from the US White House have added to Germany's immediate national security concerns. Well, Chancellor Merz believes he's come up with a way for his government to better handle crises and to make key decisions faster. He wants to create Germany's first National Security Council, a committee he expects to be approved by his cabinet this week. Numerous other countries, numerous other countries have similar structures, including the US, the UK and France. The Chancellor hopes to see a new German NSC up and running within a couple of months. Sarah Bressan is Research Fellow at the Global Public Policy Institute. That's a think tank here in Berlin, where she leads projects on peace and security as well as strategic foresight. Welcome to DW. Viewers may well be surprised that Germany doesn't already have a body coordinating these functions. How has Germany gone so many decades without such a committee?
It's very interesting from the outside to see how Germany has actually made national security decisions. The cabinet is the only body that can legitimately make decisions, and it has done so in the past. There was a separate committee only to decide about arms export specifically, which is the basis for the new National Security Council, which will be working on different topics going far beyond arms exports. And particularly in the past years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the cabinet has met in a format which was called the Security Cabinet, kind of a reduced number of ministers in a focused way making decisions on security. But that has been largely improvisation and not really a set format as such. And so it's good to see that this is now moving into kind of a more professional next phase and setup.
So having survived the Cold War, Islamist terrorism and right-wing extremism, why does Germany now believe it needs a National Security Committee?
I would argue it has needed this committee for a while. You're correct that Germany has survived a couple of the things you mentioned, but it has not exactly always thrived in those crisis management situations. If we look at the reaction to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, where Germany was rather late among allies in recognizing the risks and taking steps to hopefully prevent or act early on. Similarly, the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan was pretty much a disaster, everyone agrees. And so in all of these decisions, there was room for improvement. And this is now supposed to obviously work much more coherently, much more sufficiently in the new Security Council structure.
All right, so you believe that a committee like this, they would be there to predict these crises and warn the cabinet ahead of time so they're not taken by surprise?
Looking into the future is going to be one major task for this council. If we look at past decisions, I mentioned Russia. We could mention energy dependence on Russia from Germany, which famously went on for way too long. The Nord Stream pipeline, decisions like which suppliers to let into the 5G network in Germany, which were not discussed early on under a security lens. So basically anticipating risks, assessing them in a structured way, and then also bringing them onto the agenda before they turn into a crisis. That is the hope that this council will be able to do so.
And as far as we can tell, this council would predict and then recommend to whom? To the cabinet? To the wider government?
Well, the council as such consists of select ministers who are relevant to national security. And in addition to that, there are different units in the federal chancellery, which basically prepare the decisions, hopefully provide additional analyses, and then also together with the chancellor and head of his staff, basically shape the agenda of this council. So it will, in the end, still need to be be the whole cabinet that can make decisions. The decision-making authorities will not be changed in the German constitution. There is no constitutional change for this. But the ways in which things are discussed, the way that are brought up onto the agenda, and the way that decisions are going to be made will differ.
Is this also a sign that Germany has doubts about the United States as a reliable defence partner, or even that the Trump administration may pose a threat?
As I said, experts have long recommended that Germany gets this council, and the parties that govern so far were not always willing or ready to make the change and to try this out. Now they are ready. The Trump administration, the situation in the US might play a role, might actually be conducive to Germany now basically stepping up and knowing it cannot rely anymore, for example, on the intelligence that the US provides to the degree that it has done so in the past. So I would say, I can't tell you it's 50% because of the US or something like that, but I would think that that definitely played a role.
OK. There are concerns, though, about the idea that civil liberties might be undermined. So who would oversee this committee?
There has been a little criticism about the setting up the committee so far. The criticism that there has rightly been basically fears of a power grab from the Chancellery. The Chancellery basically grabbing power in a way that is not usual to a German parliamentary system, to the way that it's more common in a presidential system. And so as of now, there is not really a different or new oversight mechanism. There is interest, of course, in the German parliament to what extent the parliamentary committees will be informed. But in the end, the decision that this new body makes can be made public, but they don't have to be. So we definitely need to keep an eye on that. And we can't tell as of yet to what extent this will basically move a lot of German national security making into the realm of classified secret to an extent that is necessary, or maybe not even necessary.
And do we presume that the biggest threats to Germany at the moment and potentially in the future are those from Russia and China?
The making basically a big new threat assessment is something that I would see as a first task of this new council and the associated structures. And in the big picture, I don't think the threat assessments will significantly change, but it would be good for them to be a little bit more forward-looking and not just talk about the threats that have been there in the past decades already, but basically really use, as I said, the anticipation, looking at, for example, technological risk, economic dependencies, the way that autocracies are basically building new alliances in the world, that all of these things come onto the agenda and more, and that Germany also starts formulating a proactive strategy and vision for where it wants to go with its security policy, because this is really something that has been absent and that this new council would ideally do in the future.
That's very clear. Thanks for leading us through that. So Sarah Bressan from the Global Public Policy Institute. Thank you so much.
Thank you.